You absolutely love to see this as the Toronto Maple Leafs, in their return to action, come out and beat the Carolina Hurricanes. It got a little bit scary there in the third period, late in the third, but the Leafs, the boys got it done. And most importantly, we're back to post-game live streams. It's been a couple weeks. Welcome familiar faces, Jim, Rick, Dan, Nick, Eric, of course, Papa, Paulie, Sean, everybody. Welcome in. It is the return stream, and we're excited to talk to you all again, have some call-ins going. And Darius, it was poetic. The Leafs come out, and I was going to say dominate, but they dominated till the end of the game. What's up, Joshua? We're back. The streams are back. All is right. Jim is back as well, dropping 5 gifted to Scott, Kyle, Derek. What's up, Scott? Hope you're doing well. You just got a membership from Jim, Trevor, and John. We're going to be adding tons of new emotes. Memberships are back. Everything is good. Now, I know I said I'm going to address it off the top that we were going to be going live, throughout the break. We took a little bit of a break from streaming there. It was hard to actually align our schedules during the break. So we took a couple week break. We're back better than ever. Not going to miss a game. What's up, Jose? What's up, Crankbait? Everybody. Welcome. And Darius, we are back where we belong.
We're back post-game streams. It feels weird, honestly. Like it's been it was only like a week and a half, but it feels like forever at this point with no Leafs hockey in the middle of the season. And no, but we're back and back in a big way. They dominated at least the first period. I felt like I was like in an alternate universe with Steves and Holmberg scoring the first 2 goals in quick succession. So that was fun, but good game, a little bit scary at the end, but they get it done. That's what matters. And I think, Stolar's played a really strong game again, despite none of the last 2 goals were his fault. Like they were really broken, ugly plays. So he had another really, really strong performance, and Leafs come away with a big win. You gotta beat Carolina. That's a good team. So this is a big win, and they do not play at home too often, honestly, the rest of the way till the end of the season. So this was a good one to pick up here tonight.
Everybody's saying hi to each other again. It's been a
What's
while.
going on,
Some
guys?
interesting changes. Darius, I think this is your first stream with the new background. Maybe. Well, maybe not. Maybe
No, I did one. I did
one of
one
them.
in the
One of the first
yeah.
streams.
Yeah.
Paulie, it's going well. Leafs win. We can dive into it a little bit here. Of course, also, we have the new base bar. I don't know if you guys can see it. More of a scroll now with no one scored.
No
lol,
one
I'm
scored.
sure.
LOL.
We're looking at it on the fly. We're looking at it on the fly. If you guys like the new base bar, let us know. It's not just Leafs games. It's all games. So it's going to be going on through. John, thank you very much. I'll take it. We'll take it. Thank you again, John. Everybody, welcome in. It feels good to be back. I'm very excited. Regarding the game, I mean, what a game from. I'm also going to take some credit. I did also. Pontus Holmberg does have 2 goals. ESPN's just slow to update, so that's the only change here. Is that Pontus?
Was it William Nylander that got the last one?
I think it was Pontus. Either way, whoever scored it.
No, it was. It was. He did have 2 goals tonight.
Yeah. So
Yeah, 2
Pontus. Regarding the game, I did predict in the video today that Alex Steves. I said I wouldn't be surprised if Alex Steves scores a goal early. He scored a goal very early, so pat myself in the back for that. But Anthony Stolarz looked fantastic, despite. I mean, he still had very good stats overall. But Darius, what'd you see tonight? I mean, just an absolute masterclass of a game up until the last few minutes. Some unlucky bounces, some bad defensive play as well there towards the end. But all is right in the world.
First of all, love to see everybody saying hi to each other in the chat. That's fantastic. And hello to everyone. We've missed you and missed this kind of, involvement with the community here. So this has been great to get back to this. And they play again tomorrow night, so we'll be back tomorrow night. But in terms of the game tonight, you called it, Nick, in the video this morning. We'll get to it in a second.
Nick with 5 gifted. I'm happy to see we're having a ton of new emotes as the playoffs come down. Daniel, Rob, Trader, Diesel, Coaster. Everybody thank Nick in the chat. Excited to get the membership count back up so we get some more emotes to continue to implement them. Thank you, Nick. Welcome back, gifts. Thank you very much. Your guys' support is great. And Jim, welcome back as well. I know you're in Costa Rica for a while there. I believe you said it was. So hopefully you enjoyed the vacation.
Was it Cuba?
Maybe it was
might have been Cuba.
Wherever it was. Yeah. We'll hear from you in the call.
He was trying to call in from, I think it was a hot tub or a pool in Cuba. So shout out to Jim back a couple weeks ago. But no, it was a good first period. Second period, a little boring, I think, from both sides, but good first period. You called it. Like I said, like earlier today in the video, you were like, you know what? Steves can maybe add some offense to that fourth line. And I was like, I don't know. But we'll get to it again. Papa Paulie.
So they're coming back up. Our membership count. Tyson, B58, Devin, Big Dog, and Onion. You guys support. I found the thing as well. We're gonna add the C to it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all. Papa, thank you. Jim, thank you. Nick, thank you. Thank you, everybody who's in here. With the 5 gifted, if you just got a gifted, any 15 of you in there, thank the person who, of course, gifted it to you. Let's also hit the like button. Let's try to get 30 likes in our return stream. But go ahead, Darius. Thank you again. Papa, for the support. And Paulie, it's a pleasure to be back. We're excited.
Yeah, you were again. You were saying this morning that Jim.
As Jim comes in
Yeah.
with another 5 to
I love
Python,
it.
Monte, Mitchell, Dubroy, and Matthew from Michigan with the 5. The dream for all green names. Jim, thank you so much for the. I can't keep up here. This is incredible. More green names coming in, more emotes coming in from the top rope. Absolutely, Jim, from the top rope, and feels great to be back. I'm happy.
And
Okay,
Jose.
Jose,
We're
with
all
the 20.
back. The Leafs are back,
Jeez.
baby.
With the 20, nice win, Jose. Glad to see you back. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you for the 20. This is what a return. What a return to action for the Leafs and everybody in here. Jose, thank you very much. Jim, every single person who's donated so far means the world to both of us.
And in typical Leafs fashion, too. Big win, a little bit scary. A little bit scary the way it went down, but big win nonetheless. But yeah, I think the story tonight, Alex Steeves, Anthony Stolars, Holmberg had a good game. I was talking about it this morning, too. What's Holmberg going to do? Because either start playing better or you're gone, buddy. So he played a very good game, I thought. And I was looking towards the guys who weren't playing in the Four Nations to have big games, and I thought that most of them did. Tavares, I thought, looked great again. Nylander with a couple really good plays. Marner and Matthews kind of like they played well, but they kind of looked, like they were tired. So kind of expected that. One takeaway I took away from this game in terms of negatives, Nick, because we do have to address everything, is
Nick, don't forget to like the stream as well, everyone. Yes. All right, 22. Let's try to get a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, it was a terrifying, terrifying game. Go ahead, though. Thank you again, Nick.
yeah, the power play. Not doing it for me again. It looks very, I know like we just got off of watching literally the best players in the world play together on the power play. So obviously our views are a little skewed in that way, but it's not as direct enough for me. Like personally, I think they gotta do something else. I don't know at this point. I do still think personally it's the personnel, but I don't know if it is maybe Mark Savard's whatever strategy he's putting together. It's just not working. It looks so passive. It doesn't look dangerous whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they can figure that out. Obviously, Austin Matthews with the empty net goal. I mean, the third or the fourth line. I mean, in the video today, we called out how it's been very bad offensively and how hopefully Alex Steeves will help pick it up. And then the first 3 goals of the game are from the bottom couple lines. And it is very encouraging to see. I'm going all in on the positives today. The negatives, of course, the power play. I think it's always going to be a bit of an issue. We're going to have a crazy trade update for you all tomorrow as well. I mean, the trade talks now are really starting to heat up. What's up, positive as well? It's also good because every game now that we're going to be streaming is going to be we're in the final stretch because the halfway point with the Four Nations face-off is late into the season. I mean, we are now trade deadline's in a couple weeks, and then I mean, right around the corner is going to be the playoffs, and it is going to be an absolutely, you can see here in the bottom, ranked 4th in the Eastern and 2nd in the Atlantic Division. So they are in 2nd in the Atlantic. They really need to make a push here. And I believe, at least when I checked, Florida was winning or won. I'm going to double check now, but they need to win as many games as humanly possible as the Kraken actually beat Florida tonight. Okay. I mean, I don't know what I was looking at, which means
They might have been up at one point.
I think they were, which means now the Leafs are 1 point back of the Panthers with 2 games in hand. They have two less played games than the Panthers, and they're 1 point back. So an absolutely massive win.
And not only that, you never like to see players get injured or out long term, but Matthew Tkachuk sounds like he's going to be out long term for the Florida Panthers as well. So that has serious implications for them moving forward into the rest of into the playoff push and the last half of the season here. So the Leafs have a great opportunity here. They play tomorrow against one of the worst teams in the league. Like if you can pick up back-to-back wins here against Carolina and Chicago, and you put yourself
they
right
could
back
be in
into
first by the end of tomorrow night with a win. I don't believe Florida plays.
Exactly.
So
no, exactly. So and they're without Matthew Tkachuk, so you can put yourself in a really, really good spot here.
And Nick saying, no surprise, the guys who had 2 weeks off looked the best tonight. Yeah, I mean, that is true. Like players from especially the side. I mean, I was expecting them to look a little bit rusty, the Leafs, but it was the polar opposite. It was an absolutely dominant win. And even though the end was a little bit scary, they fought back and got a couple of the goals here. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're happy Leafs hockey is back, hit the like button. Let's try to get to 50 likes on this one. Let's get Jim in here because we haven't heard from Jim in probably about a month now.
Quite some time.
Probably about a month. And feels good to be back. And a game tomorrow as well. Then they don't play till what, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. So it's gonna
Yeah,
be
I actually haven't looked at the
that
schedule
Vic.
to be honest.
But
Because
what I'm gonna do really quick, just to make
yep.
sure, because I'm just gonna hide Darius for 2 seconds, just to make sure that no numbers get leaked. And that's why I do that. Okay. All right, Jim. We're here. You're back. Hopefully your
Uh-huh.
vacation was good. How are we feeling? The Leafs win. All is good, and I hope you're doing well as well.
Gentlemen, you know what? First of all, I'm going to start off on some really positive stuff as usual. I honestly hope this doesn't come off as strange. I've missed you guys.
Yep.
I've had a pretty crappy time in my life other than going away for a while. I had a death in my immediate family, and it was a very important person to me. I'm not going to be all melancholy about it, but yeah, it was hard. But you know what? You guys really do add a lot to this community, and I've missed talking to you guys. I've certainly missed talking Leaf stuff. So let's get into some hockey. I was away for like 2.5 weeks in Cuba. And yeah, as Darius correctly said, yeah, I was trying my best to call in from there many times. And yeah, it was just apparently the United States is not big on getting calls funneled through IP, through internet protocol phones via
Yeah.
via Cuba. But anyways, but guys, you know what? I just want to say, as far as the game tonight, I'm there's a lot of great stuff to take away. You know, because coming back from a long break like that. And I've been talking to a couple of people about it today, so it parlays well into my next statement, which I think is you can have a lot of polarizing things that can happen. You can have teams that have used that time and they are ready to play and they are just come out the gate guns a blazing. Or you can have what happened to like teams like the Rangers tonight, where they came out and were down 5-0 to Buffalo inside of the first like 10 minutes, right? The Leafs came out tonight. They captured the game, and I think one of the best things we can take from that early start and the continued pressure we have is how that can parlay into playoff success with that third and fourth line playing as well as they did. They were on the play at all times. They were on the scoreboard, and I think. I mean, with not to tote them up too much here, but the input of Steve's, which a lot of people have been calling for a while. Yeah, absolutely amazing. He played really, really well, and maybe it's just that new NHL uniform boost. But I thought he played amazing. I was really impressed with his skill, and obviously, excuse me, guys, his goal was incredible. But I like his play. I just do. I think he's a great quality ad for the role he plays. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, he's been really good with the Marlies, and the Leafs are doing a really good job lately, I find, of letting guys kind of develop down there until they're maybe 25, 26, if they're not like immediately good prospects. Go ahead, Nick.
Sorry to
Sorry.
interrupt you. We have Eric coming in with the 5 gifted. Dominic, John, Dash, Multi, Mike, Eric, welcome back as well. I saw you type in the chat earlier. Thank you for the 5 gifted. It very much appreciate it. And Darius, I'll let you continue your thought, but Eric, huge
Yeah.
shout out to you.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. But yeah, I find that they're doing a much better job with the Marlies, kind of letting guys sit there if they're, until they're 24, 25, 26, and then they'll finally come up to the Leafs with all this confidence. Like Steve's has scored almost 30 goals in the AHL this year. That's something that, if you look back 2, 3 years, he probably was not going to do, and his overall game has improved as well. So he looked great today, I thought. He was playing, I know, limited minutes, and he was playing on the fourth line, but in a playoff series after game 2 or 3, when Ryan Reeves goes away, because we know that's going to happen, I would imagine he starts a series, but he's not going to stay there till game 7 if it goes that long. You put a guy like Alex Steves in there, maybe you can create some more offense through him or through some of the other players. Like Lorentz, I think, is a very underrated, skilled player as well. He just has a role that he plays. So,
Yeah.
adding a little bit more of that. And this is something when Kyle Dubas was around, and I hate to keep dragging this Kyle Dubas's name, but when he was around, they had a very hard time calling guys up and them making any type of impact. It just never
Right.
happened. And we're seeing it more and more now, especially with McMahon, for example, over the last 2 years. So, no, I'm loving it. I think he looks really great. It's crazy what confidence can do to a guy's legs. But he looks really good. And I want to see if he gets back into the lineup tomorrow, too.
Yeah, and I think to add on that, if I may, guys, I think you look at a guy like Steves and even Lorenz, as you mentioned, Darius. I think those are guys that I think, yes, they have a role to play, and during the regular season you're going to see that. But I strongly believe, especially with the Wrens, because Steve's is still unproven in that capacity. But I think you're going to see his true value in the playoffs. And for people that look at him and they just think, oh, he's got like a handful of goals and he kind of gets out there as a checking line kind of guy. His value, I strongly believe, will show off much, much stronger in the playoffs. And I think when that comes, because that's the one thing the Leafs have missed, is that the third and fourth line kind of push, but he adds some offensive flair. Lorenz does, and I think Steve's could possibly be put in the same category, maybe perhaps not as physical. But anyways, I think they could both add a lot come playoffs. I'm really pumped for playoffs. Can I just say that outright? Like, I have been, it's well known that I've been, a fan of this team for a long, long time. And this is the most excited I've been, the way a team has been built. And we haven't even got to the friggin' trade deadline yet.
Crazy.
And you guys know as well as anyone, like the possibilities that are out there from, the absolutely, add a few character bits to like, the Rantanen and stuff that's out there, which, grain of salt, whether that's real or not. But this team is built for success. And I believe whatever they add in the play or in the trade deadline is only going to add to what's already there. Sorry, guys, I'm taking up a lot of time here, but I just want to talk just briefly, and I'm not going to go on about it because it's been well documented. But the power play, God damn, it's just I don't get it. Like, I just don't understand it, and I've tried to be patient with it. But given the skills that these guys have, they seem, and I think it was I think it was Darius Point said this right during the intro, is that they just look very like lackadaisical, and their approach is very static and predictable. And these are players that are the absolute opposite of those things. And so to watch that happen time and time again and not see any sort of new approach, I'm starting to lose a little bit of faith in the sense that they are going to make a change that's going to be impactful before playoffs, because they've had all year, and I'm just still seeing the same thing that wasn't working in the beginning of the year. Guys, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I actually do have a couple thoughts. Quickly, though, Eric with the $20. Does Domi stay or is he traded at the deadline? Go. I will answer that in one question. I'll also get Jim's thoughts on that, but feel free to answer in the chat because I do have an opinion on that. But regarding the power play, it's kind of scary because the power play is going to have to be good, at least a lot better than it is now, in order for the Leafs to actually have success in the playoffs. And we can just keep praying and hoping. We're over halfway through the season now that eventually it's going to fix itself. Maybe they bring in some personnel. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the talent is either going to perform on the power play or they're going to just continue to do what they're doing now in the playoffs. And there is the hope that, the talent can carry them, but that's the one nick on this team. They've been good pretty much on all fronts this year. Their defense has been solid. Their goaltending has been solid. Their offense as a whole has been very solid. If they can figure out the power play, that's the difference, I think, between this team winning maybe one series and winning, going towards the Stanley Cup and really making a push there. So I think the power play, it needs to get better. I'm kind of just putting it in the back, rearview mirror, because I'm a bit nervous about it come playoff time. And I'm just hoping that it gets to a point where the offense is so dominant that the power play won't matter as much. But that's kind of wishful thinking. I think ultimately it's going to matter a lot more.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like when it comes to like, you look back and they've often, and to be honest, guys, I obviously they've been on break for a while, but I didn't get to watch a lot of games recently just because of what's been going on in my personal life. But I just know, I'm not sure if they're still using the 5 forwards on, are they still doing that?
That was happening tonight. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. See, and this is the thing. I mean, we need, anyways, I won't be the dead horse here, but in recent history, they've put Matthews at times at the point to try to quarterback that power play but now they want him for the one-timer down off the dots. And so I think one of our needs, and I know this will be kind of polarizing, but I think one of our needs is we need someone that's going to take a stranglehold and perhaps and I be off the top of my head, but like a big time like shot first defenseman to run this power play to get any sort of success, because we already have the forwards. I just think, I don't know why, they just don't seem to be using their creative ills to any great benefit. But guys, lastly here, I'm not sure if you guys have talked about this, but I just want to talk on the Four Nations, and I realize it's a Leaf thing, and I just want to say how pumped I was about this whole tournament, the success, and just frankly, could you imagine how much crazier this would have been if the Russia was allowed to play in this too? Like it was just absolutely insane, and I was just so happy with the results. And although I'm happy with Canada winning, and if Canada had lost that game to the U.S., I think it could have also been beneficial in terms of growth of the game. And I have people, like I work for a large corporation in the city of Toronto, and we have people from all around the world that work there. And I have people that have never, because I'm known as a hockey guy in my work, and I've had people that never watched a single game of hockey coming up to me talking about how excited they are for the game. So I think that moves forward. I think as the Leafs have so much salary that how much revenue they have.
Yep.
They have so if the cap goes up, we need the United States teams to be more successful in order for the cap to go up. And I think this tournament went a long way for that. And that's it for me, guys. I'm just going to hang up and listen. But before I go, I just want to, thank you guys for all you do. If you guys are in the chat right now and you haven't been here before, you have found the best YouTube channel for Leafs and sports coverage. These guys are the best. This isn't just a channel. It's also a community, and these guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for everything you do, and I'm going to hang up and listen. Thanks again, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jim.
Shout out to Jim in the everyone loves Jim in the chat. So Jim, thank you for calling in. It was fantastic. Huge shout out to Jim, and great to hear. And yeah, the Four Nations was very fun, whether it be Team Canada, US, just the experience in general. I mean, I think it helped the Leafs also as well when it comes to some things. Quickly though, to answer Eric's donation here, do you think that Domi stays or goes at the deadline?
Things have changed. And we'll get to it in a second because Eric just donated again.
And
Thank
Scott.
you, Eric. We got a lot of members coming in tonight.
I love it.
Welcome in,
we'll have new
everyone.
emotes for you all. Rat, Mick, Ryder, Jared, and SPF. Welcome. You now have access to some emotes, some icons, a bunch of different things, and more features and benefits coming as well. Scott saying maybe Tyson Barrie can help the power play. Dive into that in a minute as well. But to wrap up Eric's $20 donation on Max Domi. Go ahead.
I just want to say too, we're at 38 likes right now. Our goal is 50. So if everyone can smash that like button, get us to 50, that would be much appreciated on this Saturday night. Tyson Barrie, if that happens, any faith that I had in Brad Living, gone in one move. In one move, it would be gone. But so I'll leave that to rest. But in terms of Max Domi, things have changed. I think if they were going to go out and get Dylan Cousins, which I still think is maybe on the table, you have to move Max Domi. It literally would not work without moving Max Domi. You absolutely would have to. So if they're still looking at that, yes, I would move Max Domi. I mean, if you're getting in a piece that would help, like a centerman, like I would move Max Domi, right? I think Max Domi, it's a good story. His dad used to play for the team. I think Ty is actually like the all-time leading penalty minutes leader for the Leafs or whatever, but it's a nice story in that way, but he hasn't had a good season. You got to be a difference maker. You got to, if the Leafs are going to win a Stanley Cup here. So I would absolutely trade him. But that being said, things have changed. If they're going to go after Mikko Rantanen, they can fit him under the salary cap with what they currently have, which is insane to think. Right? They wouldn't even have to make a move. So, and by the way, forget a third line center. Go get Mikko Rantanen if you can.
Yep.
I would think, because that puts you way over the top. Marner can play center for all I care. Just figure it out once you have Mikko Rantanen.
Eric saying hit 50 likes and I'll donate. We're 7 away. If you're in here and you're listening, you haven't hit the like button, make sure to hit that like button. Try to help us get
So Nick, I don't know how you feel about that at this point, because I think things have changed, and the reports are very real, by the way, for anyone wondering if it's just rumors. The reports are very real. The Leafs are in on it. They're one of, I think, 3 or 4 teams in on him, because he would only cost, if you wait until the deadline, he would only cost 2.4 million, I think, or something like that, or not under 3 million. So you could get him for under $3 million, and then you could potentially re-sign him. There were reports today as well that Carolina is scared that he's not going to resign, so they want to trade him at the deadline. It sounds like he's not going to sign with the Hurricanes, so they might actually move him at the deadline to a team that is a contender, and B, would sign him. I think next year he's going to end up either Toronto Maple Leaf or a New York Ranger. That's my prediction, but we will see, Nick.
Hit that like button.
How do you feel about Mikko Rantanen?
Yeah, I want Rantanen. I don't care if Domi goes. Like, if he goes, it's going to be in a trade because it's going to require the salary matching. And him and David Kampfer. Honestly, I mean, you could make an argument that David Kampf has been more valuable than Max Domi this year. And
in his role,
I think he.
Yes.
I mean, Domi's been bad. So, I mean, obviously he's playing a higher level or a higher role. David Camp got the goal tonight, not having like full, I don't want to get too recency bias here, but I mean, he has played very well. I could see a world where like they'd probably rather keep Max Domi if they could pick one or the other, but other teams would also value Max Domi as well, as we're 2 likes away from 50. Keep in mind that most of Rantanen's points came because he was on line with McKinnon. That is also, a possibility as well, but he is slowed down at Carolina, and we heard from Elliot Freeman on the break in between the second and third period that like the Hurricanes have offered him a $100+ million contract.
Massive.
And
yeah.
9-digit contract. I just don't think he wants to stay in Carolina. He doesn't look super comfortable there. I'm not exactly sure he loves the way the team's direction may be. They are still one of the better teams in the NHL on paper as it pertains to record. They're very solid. But as we just hit, we're 1 like away. But Mikko Rantanen would be retained at a high salary hit, or we'd assume so in a trade like that. So it then becomes very, very interesting. And I think ultimately that's part of the reason why I think they're probably going to make a strong push for Mikko Rantanen. I think he would probably extend in Toronto. I think that's a very possible. We hit 50. It says 49 on my end, maybe 50, but I think it's very, very possible. And ultimately it's probably going to be why a lot of these guys are, or the Leafs are linked to a lot of these players.
I think that he would resign in Toronto because they can afford to pay him. We don't know what's going to happen with Mitch Marner. And if you can get him at this deadline, if it's going to cost you the farm, right? Easton Cow and Fraser Mint, whatever it costs you, you got to do something like that because you can fit him in this year and then you can extend him this offseason. You can, because the salary cap is going up a ton. You can make it work if you really want to, and then figure it out down the road. Maybe they sacrifice next year. I say sacrifice, but maybe they don't have the best defense core or any type of bottom 6 next year, right? Figure it out in the offseason. You can, if you want to make that happen right now. And forget that. Just go ahead and try win a Stanley Cup. Rantanen gives you a really good opportunity to do that.
Eric with the 10, because we hit
Thank
50
you,
likes. Thank you very much, Eric. We have a couple call-ins, so I'm going to make sure to get these people in before we do wrap up. Let me start with, I don't recognize the numbers because my brain has been a little bit confused with the numbers lately. All right, welcome in. Who is this? I feel like I'll recognize the name. I half recognize the number. Eric. There it is, Eric. I don't know why. I swear it's a different number. Maybe not. Maybe I'm getting all my numbers.
It's been
too long. It's been too long. My brain's getting mixed up.
Quite the break.
Eric, how are we doing? Welcome back to the stream. It's probably approaching your favorite time of the year, the trade deadline, March 7th, 2 weeks away. How are we feeling?
I got it on my calendar for the countdown. I can't wait till it's over with all these speculations and trades going on. Especially the latest one with Rantanen. Like you guys talked about, that the Hurricanes did make an offer to him, a big contract, and he's taking his time with it right now. But I don't know. It's interesting. If we can get him at a cheap cost, and it doesn't cost any assets, then sure, try to make a push. But they won't be able to sign Rantanen or Marner come summertime, obviously, and. The pros and cons, yes, Rantanen's a good player, but with Marner, I find he kills penalties. He's like a Swiss Army knife. He's kind of plays all the roles, and I find with Rantanen, yes, he's a goal scorer, points, but he doesn't really kill too much penalties or a big factor in that way. But like I said, we will need a change if something doesn't happen in the first round, and I do see a possibility of Marner getting traded or getting sent out of here, not re-signing.
I think this is, first of all, an opportunity that you can't pass up on if they can acquire him, right? Because you can fit him under the salary cap. I think that it's also almost insurance, because if you do go out in the first or second round again, obviously people are going to look at Rantanen and be like, why didn't you help? But if you do go out in ugly fashion again, it's almost like an insurance policy where you're like, okay, maybe Marner does walk and we'll just re-sign Rantanen, and then there's your new player right there for 14 million or whatever he wants. So I see it as an like the Leafs got to be all in. I think you call Carolina and you go, what do you want? What is it that you want? And you can have it right at this point, because there was another report, I believe it was during the second intermission they were talking about, and I think you mentioned it, Eric, that Carolina offered him a massive contract. And he said that he needs to take his time to consider things. He just got traded, it was a big shakeup for him. What I hear in that is, I'm not sure about the direction of this team. I don't think I want to resign here, because otherwise it would be, yes, I'll take the money because I believe in where this team's going. I don't personally believe in the Carolina Hurricanes. I just don't think that they're a really good team, but I don't think they're Stanley Cup caliber, right? So I think that he sees that too, and he doesn't want to sign long term. So I can see him signing with, a team in a big market like the Leafs, who have, a future. You can see it. They're trying to win a Stanley Cup for the next 3-4 years. So it's going to get very interesting because they can afford him tomorrow. If they wanted to make that trade, they could bring him in, tomorrow. So it's gonna get crazy.
Yeah, and I can see a world like Nick Darius. Like I don't know if like you guys would do this, but I might consider it if I'm the manager. Like there's a world where we can afford both Marner and Rantanen. In that
Yeah.
saying, you got a guy like Matthew Knies who is due for an $8 million contract. If he's traded with, someone like Domi, another $4 million, the cap's going up. Marner's going to get a little bump in the raise, couple million. So if I'm the manager and you're sitting down with all these guys and say, hey, this is where we at. Tavares take a little discount and you get rid of, Domi or Knies. Like, is that something that you guys would do if we'd be able to lock up Rantanen and Marner long term?
I think, Nick, do you want to take it?
I'm very curious
Okay.
to hear your thought. I'll take it after.
I wouldn't get rid of Domi again. If Domi's an expense of all of this happening, see you later. Unfortunately, I like Max Domi, but he's not going to help the team in a way that you would keep him over getting a player like Rantanen. Matthew Knies, I would hang on to for sure. I think you can get creative in that way. Maybe you bridge him. Maybe you do sign him long term. Maybe the dollar amount's a little bit less. The salary cap's going to go up a lot, almost $10 million year after this season. So they can really play with it, and they can sign both of them if they want to by making trades in the offseason, keeping all these guys, and maybe you don't have the best team next year, but then the year after that, cap goes up $10 million, you might have some freedom again. You have some wiggle room, you stay competitive. So they can really get creative here. I don't know if that's in Treliving's DNA. We haven't necessarily seen it in the NHL yet, but they can. I would not get rid of Knies, but I think you can really get creative with this contract, and you run the risk of losing him maybe later on a bridge or something like that. But again, I think that you can get creative and really open up some space later on when the salary cap does go up. So I just don't know if Domi, I know he just signed that extension this last offseason, excuse me, but I don't know if he's long for this team at this point.
Yeah, it's just after the core four, like Domi has the highest contract up until Matthew Knies resigns. But if the cap goes up every certain years, like Rantanen doesn't need to sign a long-term deal either. But like we would have to trade probably something to get him, right? Or do we just get his rights? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, to trade for. Sorry, repeat that last part.
Yeah, so if we make a trade for him, like, what do we give up?
For Rantanen?
Yeah.
I think that they're asking for one of Easton Cowan or Fraser Minton, if not both. And I honestly think, Nick, if you want to chime in here too, I would be okay with trading both of them for him, honestly. And probably a first round pick. I would. Yeah, I would, because
wow.
I think that he can. You'll win a Stanley Cup. You have potential to win a Stanley Cup, because I don't think the Leafs have been. Jim said something earlier that he actually believes in the team this year, and I share that same sentiment. Where the last couple of years, I knew they were a good team. I wanted them to win. I don't know if I believed that they were going to win. This year, I believe that they can win because of the way that the team is built. They still have some holes. Every team has holes, but I actually believe that they can win and they can actually get something done. And I feel like the mentality has shifted a little bit at times. We've seen some things creep in, but I would do that even if he is a rental. But I think that I do think that he would resign personally. Yeah. I do believe that.
I think they would make it work. I think they would have some sort of, I don't know about agreement, but something in place to where they're confident he will resign if they make a trade for both those guys. If they aren't sure of that, I don't think they give up both of those players. I think there is a world, though, where, again, they're one of a couple teams who are actually willing to, and teams that are trading for him at this point, most of them are probably have to have the cap space to extend him, and the Leafs are one of those teams, with or without Mitch Marner. It was an interesting point you brought up about Matthew Knies. I think he's probably untouchable to the Leafs front office, or Leafs front office and everything there. But it is interesting if you trade Knies, get a bunch of assets back, extend, assets that don't take up, whether it's like prospects, whether it's some, assets that don't take up a huge amount of the cap hit. You extend Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, or Mitch Marner, Mikko Rantanen, sorry, and then you have Marner, Matthews, Tavares maybe on a cheaper contract. It becomes interesting, but I think Matthew Nyes is too crucial to what this team does, especially on that first line in front of the net, especially on the offensive end and in the offensive zone. So it's interesting. I think if they were to make a trade, it'd be something along the lines of a 2026 first round pick, Easton Cowan, maybe a Dennis Hildeby, something like that in there, and something of that nature. And then from there, maybe even a little bit more, but definitely a first, Cowan, and maybe another top prospect like Dennis Hildeby, who I also think the Leafs might be willing to trade now that they have, a couple other goalie prospects in the woodworks.
Just to chime in quickly too, Eric, before you take it. I do believe that is the case, Nick. They might have to add a couple like sweeteners, whatever you want to call it, because they're going to be retaining salary as well. So that's something to keep in mind. It's going to be Rantanen plus retained salary. So you're going to have to throw in some other stuff too. But go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
So who's retaining the salary? Carolina?
So yes. Both technically. So yeah,
it would be both.
Because Avalanche retained 50%, and then in a trade again, you'd have whatever the percentage was. The Carolina Hurricanes would retain another percentage of that. So that's how the salary goes from 9.4, his normal salary. It's already cut, and then it would be cut again in a subsequent trade. So the Leafs for this year would be getting him at 2.4. So all you have to do is match the $2.4 million salary. So it's technically double retained salary, and the Leafs wouldn't have to retain any of it because they already made a trade, which rarely happens, but it's the way that's going.
Yeah, so let's not talk about trading Nyes because Jim in the chat does not like that idea. So, Darius,
yes,
I want your thoughts on why do you think Toronto or New York's a landing spot for Rantanen?
So everything that we've heard so far, I didn't believe that was the case when he first got traded. I'll say that. I thought this was actually a sneaky deal for both teams because I was like, clearly he wants more than McKinnon. Colorado, I keep getting them mixed up, Carolina and Colorado. Colorado did not want to pay him more than McKinnon. They have an internal cap in that way. So they figured, you know what? Let's get out from under this mess that we're going to have to deal with in the offseason. Let's go get a really good player who's been playing really good for them, and Natchez. He comes in, everything's been looking good on the Colorado side, and then he goes to Carolina. He hasn't been playing well. And then on top of it, now we're hearing reports like I just brought up about how they offer him a massive contract. They offered it to him because that was up in the air as well. Like what's going to happen with that? They offered it to him and he's saying, you know what? I just got traded here. I'm dealing with the emotion still of getting traded, which I can understand, right? Absolutely. He won a Stanley Cup there. He was not expecting it. 100%. I do understand that. But trade deadline's coming up in less than 2 weeks here at this point. When is he going to make that decision? And if you're Carolina, like, hey, if we don't know if you're going to resign, we're going to trade you. And then on Rantanen's side of things, to answer your question, I think that he wants to see direction in a team. And I can see what he's seeing in the Carolina Hurricanes, and I don't see them going for it or winning a Stanley Cup. They're not good enough. They haven't been good enough. They keep losing to the Rangers in the playoffs or other teams, right? The same ways. They keep going out, and they haven't made any significant upgrades. So I think that he sees that. That's kind of why he's doing what he's doing right now. And the reason I think that he would, if he were to be traded to the Leafs, resign with the Leafs, is because they do have a future. Like they're going for a Stanley Cup in the next 3 years. They have high-end players, a ton of high-end players. So I could see him wanting to resign there. With the Rangers, they might not even make the playoffs this year, but in the same way, they're retooling for next year. It's a big market. They would offer him the max contract. Chris Drury already, there's been rumors floating around that he would offer him the max contract next year. And they're in win now mode as well. Chris Drury is doing everything that he can to make them a contender. They have one of the best goalies in the league. They just traded for JT Miller. So I believe that he would go there. I think he wants to go to a big market where he can win and make the most money. And I think that the Leafs and the Rangers would offer him that.
Yeah. So our cap space right now is at 2.2. We got Hawkenpaw and LTIR, Kelly, Yarncroke. They're gonna have to make money for Kelly Yarncroke to come in. Like something's got to give soon. Like he's practicing. Either they want to showcase him to trade him, but we can't have a bunch of I find there's more potential in Alex Steve than Holmberg. I know he got goals tonight, but look who his linemen are. We need someone effective on the third line. That fourth line, I found it was rolling tonight. What's the cap space going? The cap's going up to what next year? That
It's moving up quite. I think it's going up
A lot.
9 million or something, or they're projecting it could go up 9 to 10 million, something like that. And then every season after that, it's about 10 million.
So we're at 88 right now, so we'll be close to like 98. So it's going an extra 10 million. So there's a lot of space. Everything's doable. To re-sign Rantanen, and that would be something like crazy that would be something to talk about before the deadline or on the deadline. Seeing the big, breaking news, and he gets signed to the Leafs or traded. Like, I don't think he'll get signed right away. He might wait till the playoffs and then see what happens after the playoffs and sign before July 1st. But we haven't seen this in a while. Like, I agree with Jim. Like, this year, I have more belief than I did the previous year. We don't have a Samsonov or a Jack Campbell or Vesa Toskala. Like, we haven't had a good tandem like this, and I don't even remember maybe Cujo or Belfour, that era. But man, that's way back. Like, the time is now. We got another 2-year cup window. If that means trading 2 prospects that might be developed in maybe 4 years for Mitten and probably 5 to 6 for Cowan. Like, they're still young pups that they haven't developed yet. Well, by then, Matthews is going to be in a wheelchair. Marner is going to be in a wheelchair. Like, everyone in 5 years from them, they're going to be in their mid-30s. They're going to be Tavares' age, as crazy as it is to think about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, why not act now? Why not?
Take it easy,
Do
Jim.
it. There's even reports today talking about, they want to reunite the Shen brothers together in a trade 2 ways. Like, oh man, that would be another thing interesting to see both Shen brothers, especially one on the third line. You don't see that from the bottom 6 forward, like a scrum in front of the net. Like, we don't. There's no one like a Kachuk. Like, look how effective they were in the Four Nations. We need a guy like that. Like.
Another player at the I mean, Rantanen, when talking about Rantanen, he's another elite player. Like, he does do a bit of that, but he's not the type, like you said, that would come in on the third line. So I do think that they're looking at that, and the crash the net type of style. Because like you said, the Kachucks, that's why they're so effective. Like Brady Kachuk especially, he's like a train just going through everyone at all times. Like, he does not care where you are or what you're doing. He's gonna come take the puck, and he's gonna, you know, drive the net as hard as he can. So they do need more players like that, but I think it's a mentality thing too with some of these guys. I think they just got to do it, right? They just have to do it. Even on the power play, I'm seeing it way too passive. They just have to get to work. They have to do it. So we'll see if they break through in that way, but it's going to be, the deadline's going to get interesting. There's a lot of options for the Leafs. Like you said, the Shen brothers I saw out there. Obviously, Rantanen's on the table now where he wasn't maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago. There's a lot up in the air. The one thing I think we should all keep in mind too is it might not be on deadline day, but I don't think it's going to be early per se because you have more cap to spend closer to the deadline each team, and most of the contracts, some of the salary works out to be a little bit less if you wait closer to the deadline. So I don't know if most of these trades are going to be on the deadline, but that's just something for all of us to keep in mind that, like, yes, I want Treliving to make a trade tomorrow. I would love that just to get everything rolling. But I think because of the way the salary works closer to the deadline, it's probably going to wait till next week, maybe even a little bit longer. But there's going to be some fireworks this year. There's going to be a lot of moves because a lot of teams are in, a lot of teams want to be in on it. And I think that the Leafs have a good opportunity here because you got to go win a Stanley Cup now. You have to do it right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's now or never, and especially there's a lot of big names right now that don't have an extension or a contract right at the end of this term. So it'll be interesting to see what the Leafs do. But from the game tonight, they played well. It wasn't Stolar's fault. Those last 2 goals, just directed off of McCabe and and bounced in the air. It wasn't his fault at all. It is a Leafy thing that what happened, that they got 3 goals like that, but we got the W. It's a good way to start after the Four Nations, and I find Marner played very well. Like, he had it was a good confidence boost for him. I think he said it in a meeting there. He hasn't hoisted something in a while, so hopefully this boosts his morale to push for that cup.
Yeah, I hope so. Also, yeah, I was corrected there. It wasn't. It was the Blackhawks that retained the first bit in the Mikko Rantanen trade, which,
Right.
yeah, there's a bunch of different trades going on. But Eric, it was a pleasure. We have one more caller. I'm going to grab in quickly before we do wrap up the stream. But great to have you back. The trade deadline is approaching, and we're going to keep you in on a bunch of these streams as we approach the deadline.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for having me on. Like and subscribe to the channel, guys, and chat.
Yes.
Go Leafs, go.
Yes, sir.
Take
Thank you,
care.
Eric.
Shout
Take
out to Eric in the chat there. And quickly before we wrap up, we'll get one more caller in. Might be, I don't recognize the number fully. It might be Jose or Paulie. I'm going to, let's find out really quickly before we wrap up, or it could be either one of those. Welcome in. I don't recognize the numbers. You're going to have to refresh me on who it is. Good. Okay. I guess one of the two. I said either Jose or Paulie. Paulie, it's growing great. Big win tonight. Streams are back. The vibe is good. And how do you feel about those games? Any takeaways or anything about the trades you want to discuss quickly?
Yeah, two quick things, I guess.
Sure.
My God, the power play. What the hell is going on with that thing?
Terrible.
I don't understand why it's been so stagnant with everything. Everybody seems to be in their place. They move around their little areas. But looking back at, let's say, the old Pittsburgh Penguins, when Crosby was in his prime,
Yep.
they had similar caliber. And they would just move around, tire out the defense, get them moving, open up lanes. We can do that. I don't know why they're not even trying it. It's kind of crazy to me, you know?
Yeah, it's the stagnant part is bad. I mean, getting entries is hard enough, and then once they get in there, it's just shooting, and sometimes it's not even shooting. Sometimes it's overpassing, whatever it ends up being. They're kind of just praying. I'm hoping they're going to figure it out. I feel like they have too much talent not to figure it out. Their power play used to be good. This is really a thing that started the second half of last year, kind of, and then into the playoffs against the Bruins, and then it's kind of translated even with Marc Savard now as the new guy instead of Guy Boucher. It's very surprising to me that it's still bad, but I'm going to hold out hope and just pray that it starts to get better towards the playoffs here, because I mean, that's about all we can do. We can't, the talent's there. It's not like adding one more player. I don't think one player is going to change it. It's the entire structure and just a lack of aggressiveness and sometimes too much just passing.
No, and that's it. I mean, they've tried changing everything except for the actual system.
Yep.
And it's like slamming your head into a wall over and over again. I mean, at some point, fine, maybe you'll break through the wall, but at what cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll kind of see how that goes. But I think the more important thing right now is kind of trade targets and who we should be going after. And I think tonight kind of opened my eyes on what we should be going for. I know we've been really focusing, I guess the media, I should say, and the fan base has really been focusing on getting a depth center. Get a depth center, let's get a 2C, let's get something, right? I think the fact that we almost blew the lead tonight, it leads me to believe that we need a defenseman, and we need one way more than we need another forward in any case. You guys know what I'm saying? And my eyes are kind of on Noah Dobson right now. It seems like they might not be able to re-sign him. He is unsure of his future on Long Island, and if we can get him for, let's say, Minton, Cowan, and or Domi, and or whoever, that is an easy trade to make. 25 years old, RFA next year, making $4 million this year. We could move the space to get him in, and the kid is unreal at both defense and offense. He's exactly what we need, in my opinion.
Yeah, that would be the thing with him for me is, and we're talking, I just said like I would move these guys for Rantanen, but I just don't know moving forward. Like he doesn't have too much experience. When you look at Rantanen for me in terms of, bringing in another forward, I know you're bringing in another forward, but you're bringing in, Stanley Cup pedigree experience. So that's why I'm more open to it. This is a guy who has, I don't even know if he's definitely played in the playoffs, yeah, in Long Island. But again, he could be a really good option. Like if he came in and played with Riley, it would probably help Riley too. Right shot defenseman, like you said, he's young. I mean, there's just no way he's re-signing on Long Island. Like I think that they're 95% going to trade him at this point at this year's deadline. So it could be an interesting option. You bring up a good point. I just don't know if like Treliving's either going to do barely anything at this trade deadline, like get us like a Scott Lawton or something, and then we're all going to be a little bit disappointed maybe, or he's going to go out and get Mikko Rantanen, right? I just don't know if they're going to get they don't even have to get creative this year, but then looking forward to, you have to re-sign him. So it could get pretty interesting. And I feel like he's going to want a lot of money. Like he's a very skilled defenseman, young defenseman. So I don't hate the idea. I just feel like they're really targeting a forward for some reason, because when you get into the playoffs, if you're weak up the middle, you have a problem. And if Matthews and Tavares are tied up in a series, they're going to find problems besides the defense. Because I think the defense is pretty good, but there are obviously some holes, but every team has holes. But I think that's a good point. And I do think that Dobson is going to get traded, but I just don't know if Treliving has it in his DNA. We'll see.
You know what? I'm with you. The way I see it with the whole re-signing issue is, look, we're going to have to resign or let go of either Marner, Rantanen, or Dobson in any of these scenarios. So no matter which way it slides, I think we're kind of screwed. At least in a certain sense.
Yeah.
The way I'm seeing it right now is these guys are buzzing. Our centers have been, at the very, very least, better than okay. And I know we need a 3C. We could probably get one for cheap. It probably won't be Scott Lawton, let's say, or whoever it is if we do go after Dobson. We could get somebody for a bottom 6 role in the 3C, 4C scenario, and hope to God that getting the big fish on the defensive side would be the way to go. So I don't know. It is what it is. It's just, to me, it really does seem like the smartest option.
Yeah.
No, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's very interesting. I mean, they have the talent there, especially if Alex Steves is able to step up. I mean, you could also if you get Dobson, like you mentioned, you could go out and get someone who's, I mean, the market's pretty steep now, but even if it's not a Scott Lawton, a guy for a whatever pick, second, third round pick, whatever it ends up being. And then you just hope that the offense will be able to carry them, because I'm not entirely sure, aside from Mikko Rantanen, that any addition you can make is going to propel this team from a first round exit to a Stanley Cup winning team. Like, I don't know I mean, Mikko Rantanen is a difference maker, but it's going to be on the core for to actually play well. So unless you're getting a guy like that, I'm not sure it's worth giving up a ton of assets for players. On the defensive side, if you're going to give up assets, you can make a case that defense is going to, if your offense stagnates, you could have a guy like Noah Dobson and replacing whoever it ends up being, Connor Timmins or Benoit or someone. Obviously, you move the lines around. You can make an argument there that might be more important come playoff time, just given the fact that I think this team, like, their success isn't going to be on their addition at the deadline. It will help them, and it might help them win, a series or two. But ultimately, if they get Scott Lawton and then Matthews, Marner don't perform, Scott Lawton's not going to carry them anyways. So it's going to be interesting to see there.
That's exactly where my head's at. Exactly. Like, Rantanen is a big fish. Absolutely. Will he make our team better? 1,000%. But how many times do we need to burn our hands on the metaphorical stove before we realize it's hot? This team is top heavy. It's been top heavy since we've been watching this new core. It hasn't worked. So, time to do something different, I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. And I like what you said too about how the reason I believe that the focus has been very heavily on centers is because they foresee a problem with Tavares moving forward after this year, where they probably want to get a guy like Scott Lawton, where it's like, okay, if Tavares' foot speed slows down, he's still a good option for us. He's still a very skilled player, but then we could have Scott Lawton in there, or, whoever they bring in at center. So I feel like that's why there's been such a heavy focus, but they do need a defenseman too. We've talked about it for like 2 months at this point, that one way or another, they're probably trading for a depth defenseman. But it would be interesting if, the philosophy changed and they're like, you know what, let's shore up our defense. Let's make sure our defense is good. Then we'll get, whatever we have left on a centerman, right? So could be interesting. But I think that, again, the focus is there because they know that there is a problem coming with Tavares there if they don't figure that out soon.
Yeah, I'm 1,000% with you guys. Let's just, my God, let's hope they make the right call.
Let's hope. So, Paulie, thank you very much for calling in. Fantastic energy. And hopefully we can propel all this energy into more Leafs wins. And most importantly, I want a huge trade just for the fun of it. Like a Rantanen, Dobson, whatever it ends up being. Give me something that's, give me a trade that's big for Brad Treliving. I think it's the year to do it. Everyone's buzzing. Paulie, it was a pleasure. Thank you. And we're excited to be back in the live streams and having some more call-ins.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. Guys, remember, like and subscribe, and looking forward to the next video and stream.
Yes, sir. Have a great night. And
you,
we'll be live tomorrow with a video tomorrow. Everyone shout out to Paulie in the chat. Always with some great takes.
See you guys.
See ya. Take it easy. All right, let's do the 3 stars and wrap it up here. Let's go rapid fire on these 3 stars because I think I'll let you start with the third.
You want to go rapid?
Just do 3 at a time. Let's just do 3 at a time.
Very interesting game tonight. Very interesting. I'm gonna go third star.
Actually, we can go one at a time because it's actually difficult.
Okay.
It's actually difficult tonight.
Third star, Pontus Holmberg for me. 2 goals. One of them was an empty net. Thought he had a better game. He had better line mates. Pontus Holmberg, third line.
I'm going to also go with Pontus Holmberg as my
Third star, excuse me, I said. Anthony Stolarz is my
we have the
second
same
star.
ones.
Yeah, he had a great game.
Stolarz for me, and then 1 is going to be, of course, the man himself.
Alex Steves. Had a great game besides scoring. He had a very good game. So
yep.
Love to see that, and I wonder if he gets into the game tomorrow.
I guess you meant to say alongside scoring. He had a good game.
What did I say?
Besides scoring.
Sorry.
He did have a goal.
Sorry.
He did have a goal. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure.
Getting late.
It's getting late. It is getting late. It was great. Let us know down below in the comments right now what your stars were. Everyone who called in, everyone who donated. We had 30 plus new members. We had the 61 likes, a bunch of donations. We're going to be back every single game now the rest of the way until they get eliminated or win the Stanley Cup. And hopefully it is the latter there.
No eliminations.
No eliminations. Hopefully this is the year. We have all the energy from the community. I think this could be the year. But ladies and gentlemen, we will see you all tomorrow. It is going to be a good game, a very important game, a chance to take first in the Atlantic. Everyone who called in, Jim, Paulie, Eric, every single person, thank you very much. And most people, all right, go ahead.
One last thing, actually, I was just reminded by Nick here. Matthews actually tied Daryl Sittler tonight for most goals in Leafs history. He's second on the list now, so he's creeping up. We're literally watching in real time the Leafs all-time leading goal scorer do it. So it's crazy.
Yes, sir.
It's crazy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic evening. And we will play the music that we haven't heard in a couple weeks. Stay safe. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Leafs Digest, your daily dose of gold. Stories of the bold where legends are told. From first puck drop to the season's full. Tune in and watch the drama unfold.